What is going on, everybody? So I actually got this video idea from Rise Up Rundown, and I was also actually thinking about this before Rise Up Rundown even did his video, which is to basically, kind of give predictions about, the stats of, every player, mostly every player on the Falcons in 2020. He started with the offense. Since people won't say I'm copying him, I'm gonna start out with the defense today. So, without further ado, not gonna waste any more time. Let's get into it and talk about my predictions for the Atlanta Falcons 2020 defense. So, let's get started. So we are going to start off on the defensive line with probably the best defensive player. No disrespect to Deion Jones. This is, in my opinion, the best defensive player. Grady Jarrett with 67 tackles, 9 sacks, and 4 passes defended. Honestly, I believe that this is another Pro Bowl season for Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett is coming into his own as one of the best nose tackles in the NFL. There is no reason that he is going to stop growing and growing over the years. I really do believe that Grady will not only make the Pro Bowl next year, but could also end up maybe even being a first-team All-Pro and could absolutely do better than this. But I do think that, this is pretty fair right now. Some of these stats are, a little, kind of, not a lot of people are going to agree on, but these are just what I think. So, yes, Grady Jarrett, 67 tackles, 9 sacks, and 4 passes defended. Next up is Dante Fowler, and for him, I got 79 tackles, 8.5 sacks, 3 passes defended, and a forced fumble. Dante Fowler is really maybe one of the most underrated moves people are talking about this offseason. I mean, the guy had, 11.5 sacks last year? Now, you could say he was beside Aaron Donald, but okay, guess what? He's beside someone not as good as Aaron Donald, but is somewhat close to Aaron Donald. Now, Grady Jarrett may not be getting 20.5 sacks, but, I mean, Grady Jarrett is still one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL, and Dante Fowler is a big acquisition for us, and could end up being our best pass rusher since John Abraham, and I don't think that a lot of people really think that. So, Dante Fowler, 79 tackles, 8.5 sacks, 3 passes defended, and a forced fumble for Dante Fowler. Next up is Marlon Davidson, and for him, I got 60 tackles, 5.5 sacks, a pass defended, and actually 2 forced fumbles, which honestly I can say is a little bit blown over proportion, but you never know, it could happen. I love this pickup. I think that this was our best pick of the draft. Honestly, Marlon Davidson, I was actually really thinking of him maybe as like a late first round talent, but he slipped us at 47. Great pickup. He is gonna be able to get to the quarterback. He's gonna be able to develop slowly over time, and I think he's really gonna be a very effective piece for years to come on this defense. So a bit of a good rookie year, maybe defensive rookie of the year consideration, but I don't know. We will have to see. But for Marlon Davidson, 60 tackles, 5.5 sacks, a pass defended, and 2 forced fumbles. Up next is TAKK McKinley. For him, I got 54 tackles, 6 sacks, and 1 pass defended. The bottom line with TAKK is this. He shows potential, but, all of his seasons have ended in injury, and that's what's really caused him to really underperform. I really hope that he can still make his grandma proud, and heck, hopefully he can have a better year than this. Maybe even make it to the Pro Bowl or something. But right now, I don't have a lot of expectations, so 6 sacks are pretty good, but I kind of feel like it'll be like Vic Beasley with him last year, where, he came on late, but, he's not gonna, I don't think he's gonna be able to save, his job here in Atlanta. So for TAKK, I got 54 tackles, 6 sacks, and a pass defended. So up next is Deion Jones, the second best player on the defense. He can even make a case the best. But for Deion, this is going to be a big year for Debo. I predict that he's going to have 116 tackles, 2 sacks, 7 passes defended, 2 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles. He's already made his case probably as a top 3 linebacker in the NFL. And I really believe is just overall a great player. He has capability to be the best linebacker in the NFL, and that is really, really what you need. Deion Jones, one of these guys that I think every team wants to have, and I think that this is going to definitely be a Pro Bowl year for him. I definitely think maybe his best year yet, maybe a little too overblown, but I think not. I think Deion Jones will be having a great year in 2020. Up next is Foyesade Oluokun, and I think that he is honestly going to be a pretty damn good replacement to Devondre Campbell. And, he definitely does show a lot of potential. This year, I got him having a bit of an okay year. I think that, this could end up being his breakout year, but you never know. I got him getting 49 tackles, that could definitely be higher. 4 passes defended and a forced fumble. I definitely think that he'll have an okay year. I actually think that he may end up getting injured some this year. So yeah, I do think he could be an injury for the Falcons this year, but you never know. He could have a breakout year. He could get injured in preseason, not play at all, and he could get in and play absolutely shit, or he could get in and play pretty good like how I expect him to do. But I got Foyesade Oluokun, 49 tackles, 4 passes defended, and 1 forced fumble. Up next is Mykal Walker, the rookie, and it's honestly pretty tough to see how he will do. He may not even start, but I do project him starting. I think that he will get 56 tackles, 3 passes defended, and half a sack. I think he'll have an okay rookie year. He probably won't play that much, but when he does play, I do think he'll be a pretty damn good, he'll be pretty damn good when he does play. So, Mykal Walker, you really can't say a lot. You can't predict a lot, especially about a rookie. But this is why I do predict 56 tackles, 3 passes defended, and half a sack. Up next, we have Kendall Sheffield, who I think is going to be our number 1 corner this year. I think he's going to get 71 tackles, 10 passes defended, and 2 interceptions. I think sounds pretty fair. I think Kendall Sheffield is definitely, a little more underrated, and he could absolutely suffer from the sophomore slump. But I think, he's going to be our number 1 corner, and honestly, him going up against a lot of these guys does worry me, but, he may be able to pull off 2 interceptions. Maybe, we sign a guy in free agency and, I don't know. But right now, this is what I think Kendall Sheffield will, stats will look like at the end of 2020. So 71 tackles, 10 passes defended, and 2 interceptions is my prediction for Kendall Sheffield in 2020. Up next, we have A.J. Terrell, our first-round draft pick, and I think that this is one that is very debatable. This is one that could do absolutely awful, maybe pretty good, or maybe just average. I'm more in the average spot. I think that this was a pretty decent pickup. Really, I've had time to process it, and it really doesn't seem that bad. I think he'll get around 56 tackles, 8 passes defended, and an interception. I just think that, he'll definitely grow in it, and it's also worth noting that he only really had one bad game that he's playing with like a 103 fever in. So, stop just stop saying that he's an absolutely awful draft pick, because, he really isn't. Up next, we have the King Crawley of the team, Isaiah Oliver. Okay, I'm gonna address that in a second. Isaiah Oliver is someone who shows potential. And I had some expectations for him last year. Thought maybe he could get a few picks, and he didn't. He was getting burnt by guys like Nelson Aguilar. So I think that going into this year, I expect him to get 63 tackles, 5 passes defended, and an interception. Which honestly isn't that bad if you really think about it. It's actually pretty okay. But I don't know. Yeah, he shows a lot of potential, but Isaiah Oliver, I don't know if I can really trust him. But right now, I got him at 63 tackles, 5 passes defended, and 8 interceptions for Isaiah Oliver in 2020. Up next, we have KZ, who I personally think is actually the best player in our secondary. For KZ in 2020, I have him getting 65 tackles, 11 passes defended, and 5 interceptions. KZ, has really been, a person who not a lot of people have really looked at or even talked about. But lots of people forget that he tied the league for interceptions with 7 in 2018. He had a pretty quiet 2019 while still getting a few interceptions. In 2020, I think that he is definitely going to be a great player for this secondary. Honestly, could be the leader of the secondary, And what I mean by leader, like the best player in the secondary who can actually, pick the ball off. But, yes, for KZ in 2020, 65 tackles, 11 passes defended, and 5 interceptions. Next up, we got Ricardo Allen. Ricardo Allen is probably the leader of our defense. Great guy in the locker room, great example. For Ricardo Allen in 2020, I think he will get 79 tackles, 6 passes defended, and a forced fumble. Ricardo Allen hasn't, been like a, Devin McCourty, has made a lot of noise around the NFL, like one of these big-time safeties. But, he is still, a number 1 safety. And yeah, he's not the greatest one. He makes mistakes, but, great leader, and yeah, Ricardo Allen, I think that he will have 79 tackles, 6 passes defended, and a forced fumble in 2020. And finally, to wrap up the defensive players, we have the returning NEAL for the 2nd straight year from injury. And NEAL is probably the most player I'm concerned the most about. He shows great talent. He shows he can maybe even be our best defensive player. But he has never been able to stay healthy these past 2 years. And we need him to stay healthy. These stats are if he can stay healthy all year. But, something tells me that he will probably get hit with the injury bug at some point. Let's just hope it's not for too long. I predict NEAL in 2020 to get 77 tackles, 7 passes defended, an interception, and 3 forced fumbles. And that is very, a long shot. I do think it can happen. I think that it will happen. I think NEAL will have a nice bounce back here. He could even be in Comeback Player of the Year consideration. Don't know if he'll win it or not, but we will have to see. NEAL, just a lot of injury concerns. If it wasn't for the injuries, he maybe be the best hard-hitting safety in the NFL right now, but I don't know. So yeah, Keanu NEAL in 2020, I predict him to have 77 tackles, 7 passes defended, an interception, and 3 forced fumbles. So that is gonna wrap this video up. I know I didn't do every single defensive player, like the Jalen Hawkins we drafted, what's his name, Leroy Reynolds we picked up in free agency, Dadrine Sanat and John Kaminsky. I know we didn't do those players because those players I expect, to be more backups. Kaminsky may, start some. I have heard that they are looking to utilize him, and, the video that I posted last week, you can obviously tell that I'm pretty proud of that. But yeah, this is going to do it for this video. This was definitely tough to make. I don't know, and I will just want to come back and see what their stats are and see if I got any of them right, or how close I was to getting them right. But yes, I will see y'all on Wednesday, most likely, no, for the offensive players stat predictions, which I honestly, probably am, which, honestly, I'm kind of more excited to make. Not the fact that I didn't want to make this video. I wanted to make this video. I wanted to, be able to predict the defensive stats, a little more research I can do, but, I mean, it's just, I'm going to be able to do the offense, and, I like offense more. But I will see y'all on Wednesday for that video, and until then, rise up.